Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of TV Junkie Generation. Okay, before you make fun of me for my giant teased hair and my 80s sweater, that's because this episode is an early review of The Americans, which is season 3, which premieres January 28th on FX at 10 p.m. And so, obviously, the show's in the 80s, so I wanted to give a good tease. I don't know how good I am at teasing anymore. Basically, this is the basic plot of The Americans. You all know what it is. Philip and Elizabeth Jennings are KGB spies, and they're just doing a lot of crazy stuff to try to protect their mother Russia, and their kids are involved in American, and they have no idea what their parents are doing. This season also follows Philip, who had to marry Martha to get intel from her. She wants to start a family. Obviously, he doesn't want to do that because he has his real family. So how will he handle Martha's request? Because as we know, she's a little bit persistent. And at the end of the last season, we all know that the KGB wanted to start grooming their daughter Paige to be a spy. So that was a big deal to end on season 2. We're going to get into that on season 3. Okay, here we go. Pro number 1. Season 3 picks up in 1982, hence the hair and my mom's old 80s sweater. I love the 80s. I'm a child of the 80s, and I love this season that we get to see things like MASH, Fantasy Island, the Jeffersons, and one of my favorite things from the 80s we get to see during this season of The Americans is the first edition cell phone. Remember those giant things? They look like this. I mean, who knows what they did to us, whatever. They were like, it was like having a spaceship on your ear. So I love that. I love seeing all those references from the 80s. That was really, really fun for me. That was one of my pros. Pro number 2. So the Jennings aren't KGB spies just because obviously they love Mother Russia, but they believe that they want to make the world a better place for their kids. So it makes us think as viewers, what would we do to protect our family or to make a better life for our family, even if it involves doing some criminal activity. So I love how they kind of make us walk the line there. We know they're doing something bad, but they think they're doing it to make it a better place for their family, and it makes you think. So I love that they kind of have us, like, you know, kind of walking the line between thinking what they do is unacceptable, but then would we do that for our family? So I love that as a pro. My third pro and favorite pro of this season, keep in mind I got to watch the first 4 episodes, is the storyline with their daughter Paige. Obviously, the KGB wants to start grooming Paige as the next spy. That's how they do it. They do it when they were younger. Elizabeth talks about how, you know, when her mother asked her to do it, she said yes right away. But as we know, Paige is a strong-willed teenager, and she's starting to notice the inconsistencies of her parents' relationship and questions that. So she's finding solace in the church. So church, KGB, spy, I don't know how this is going to work out. Meanwhile, one parent thinks that they should be grooming Paige, and one parent disagrees. Who will win out, and what will Paige think? I don't know. We'll figure that out as the season goes on. My last pro is they really up the ante on the storyline about grooming such a young girl, Paige, to be a spy, by Elizabeth starts training a new recruit that's young enough to be her son, and Philip starts flirting with the girl young enough to be his daughter to get intel. So it's just, it makes you question things. They don't really want their daughter to get involved, but then again, they're okay grooming young kids that are the age of their own children and flirting with kids at the age of their own children. So I love how they walk that line. So those are the pros. Cons, the season starts off a little bit slow. It's a slow burn. They have some new characters to introduce. And as you know, there's a lot of storylines going on. So, you could start to feel a little bit anxious, but I promise you, hang in there. It gets fired up real quick. My second con and my last con is that the storyline with FBI agent Stan feels a bit muddled and stalled a little bit in this season. Obviously, Stan is the neighbor of the Jennings, who, and he obviously is looking for these KGB spies who are his neighbors, and he's also trying to reconcile with his wife, who has moved on and has a new boyfriend. And he's really trying to come to terms with the fact that he didn't want to betray his country, in turn sending his KGB mole slash love, Nina, back to Moscow for treason. So, and he really loved Nina. So he has a lot of things to deal with, and I feel a little bit of weakness there. And I want to see the Stan in that, I think it was the beginning season, that was snooping around the Jennings basement. That Stan, that moment. I love that moment. I want to see more of that. So those are the only cons. It's not really that big of a deal. As I said, it's a slow burn. Once you get to episode 3, there's something grueling that happens between the Jennings that really is an explosion of sexual tension and violence at the same time. That's going to have you, going, oh my gosh. And once that happens, we're off to the races and running with the season. And I just love how the Americans makes you wonder, once you cross a line, can you go back over it? And what is okay to do to keep your family safe? So that's what I think. Those are my pros and cons of the season premiere, season 3 of The Americans, which premieres the 28th on FX at 10 p.m. That's January 28th on FX at 10 p.m. Final review, 7.5 hair flips. I can't really flip it because it's all 80s teased and it doesn't really flip. But make sure you check out the premiere of The Americans January 28th on FX at 10 p.m. And I'll see you next time.